Hey everyone, it's Nolan Wheeler, co-host of the Modern Work Monday for Retail. I have, as always, with me Jeff Strasser. Jeff.
Great to see Nolan. Hey everybody, Jeff Strasser with Microsoft.
Excellent. And this is a special one. It's going to be a little longer because we don't usually get famous people on our calls, but we've got Ron Thurston with us, the author of Retail Pride, the author of Human Pride, multi-time bestseller. Ron, is that
It is.
right?
Twice you could call it multi. Yes. Yeah, you
Multi
can say
sounds really good, really good. Sounds better than two times.
that. I'll take it. Thank you. Thanks. Nice to be here with you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, how is the Human Pride going? Talk to us about books before we get into retail technology for Frontline.
Yeah, sure. So Human Pride. So the subtitle is Optimizing Your Human Potential in a Digital Job Market, because it's such an important topic right now around how do you really optimize yourself in a world where everything is about algorithm. AI is a constant evolution, technology, new technologies around the corner. The only thing you can really ground yourself in are your own strengths, your own values, your own kind of future control. And so that came out at the beginning of May. It became an Amazon #1 bestseller actually on day one, which was within hours, which is incredible. Wow. Stayed there for about a week. And Retail Pride is still running strong. I love that Retail Pride. So those that don't know, the subtitle is The Guide to Celebrating Your Accidental Career, because so many people in this industry it's accidental, and particularly on store side, often it's not planned to work in this industry. And but they fall in love with it, and they love being an entrepreneur and a multi-million-dollar business owner and an HR manager and a merchandising manager and a tech support function. When you run a store, you do all of those and more. And people fall in love with this business like I did. I worked in stores for 35 years. And so it's fun. It's fun having these two kind of forums and platforms to share the love of people, most importantly.
Awesome. I mean, that's like the perfect segue, because, what we wanted to talk about is, what's the importance of giving good tools to Frontline? I mean, I've worked in retail as well. I had the accidental career, right? So the Retail Pride book was near and dear to me. So, I remember working with crappy tools. I remember working with effectively no tools. I remember like day one was take a piece of paper, fold it 8 times, and then put it in your breast pocket, and that's going to be your technology for the day. And technology can be like super cool. Like, we don't need to be scared about it. It doesn't need to be some crazy multi-$1,000 device in our pocket. It could be as simple as a radio, and radios are kind of having a resurgence here with AI radio, and effectively using like a modem to take radio traffic to the cloud. And Jeff and all his amazing people at Microsoft and Azure can give a bunch of agentic tools and whatnot. But walk us through that. Like, what is that, the importance of tech and Frontline and the Human Pride, Retail Pride?
Yeah, no, I love that, Nolan, because a part of the success of great retail customer experiences is that they're efficient, that they're effective, that they move at the speed at which the customer wants them to move. And sometimes that's very quick. Have everything at your fingertips, whether that's inventory levels, whether that's mobile POS systems, whether that's two-way radios, whatever the customer expectation of you is, you need technology to deliver on that experience. And it doesn't mean you use all of it 100% of the time. It's what I write about, I speak about often, is it's your responsibility as a retail leader, sales associate, to understand what the customer that's standing in front of you needs from you today. And that could be a conversation. It could be fast, efficient return. It could be storytelling. So there's the empathy and the thought process that goes into great experiences are so wide, and that's where great skill comes in. And that's why I love this idea that technology is only as effective as your ability to tell the story and to implement it as needed. And not everyone needs it, but when you need it, it needs to work. And that's what I love about the industry, and that we're always introducing new tools that can actually help the employee experience and ultimately the customer experience.
So Ron, as Nolan said, we went from a piece of paper folded in his pocket, however many years ago on, to where we are today, where there's this just proliferation of different tools and different technologies. some super successful, some probably overdone and not as successful or not used as much as they could be. But as you look forward, right, there's just massive announcements over the last few years, or advancements, I should say, in technology, right? Whether it's generative AI and agentic AI, all of like the hot topics of the day, grounding that in a little bit more reality, because there's buzz and then there's, okay, like what's the real, like realistic impact of these things? Where do you see things, like what do you see as the impactful implementation of some of these technologies over the coming years for the front line and for the stores?
It's so interesting, Jeff, because we're also at a really strange time where I feel like there's a spotlight again, and the phrase of kind of COVID playbook being brought out again, of payroll and cost and efficiencies, and the technology is only as effective in stores as its adoption and as its need. And so an adoption requires layers of people who can continue to deliver. And I am definitely hearing this of kind of, we're going to hold on, maybe adding that head count. Maybe we're going to reduce some heads. We're definitely talking about payroll. We're talking about shrinking opening hours. There's a lot on people's minds, hopefully in a very temporary sense. But kind of that execution then requires, what do we need first? So I always encourage executives to say, before you make a decision, go into as many stores as you can, or have calls with as many people as you can to understand what are the pain points and what are you solving. The adoption rates drop when you surprise a fleet of stores and say, guess what? We bought this for you. Aren't you excited? And they're like, actually, no, no one asked for this. And why did you just spend millions of dollars? So first, ask what people need, and then go on a journey with them. Bring people along on your journey of purchasing and executing. Like, tell them what you're doing, why you want to do it, how this will help them, and then help them create training, help them execute on the in-store experience, so you're getting buy-in all along the way. And so I think, Jeff, when brands and leaders do that really well, and they bring the field along on the journey, the ultimate adoption rates go through the roof. And where brands struggle is that kind of that blockade that happens between the field and corporate. And unfortunately, here we are in 2025, and I still hear those stories. It still happens today, and it's such an easy fix. So I said, like, let's just fix it. Let's be curious. Let's ask more questions. Let's dig into what that 80% of your workforce really needs from you today.
Yeah, the tools are there. The tools and the technologies are there to address so many of the pains that those working in the stores are having. Yeah. But are those the things that are being prioritized?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I think it's interesting too, Ron. It's like, what does the customer see, right? Like, we at times invest heavily in technologies, and we've got this flashy back end, we've got this flashy thing that someone sees on their mobile device. But if it's still the same analog interpretation for the consumer, like that's what I love about Uber, right? Like, Uber transformed the level of assurance that we expect. There's my car, there's my assurance, there's my delivery, so on and so forth, right? And it's still missing in brick and mortar. Like, it's not good enough to go up and touch a button and then hope that maybe it's over a radio or maybe it's to a mobile phone. But if I can't see that it's working as a consumer, like, it doesn't really matter how fancy the back end is.
It's really true. Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you don't have people in the store that can then meet the customer where they are and answer questions. Things like self-checkout, I know, are having this very controversial effectiveness conversation, cost and effectiveness, and its failure, is everyone has agreed upon, is because the lack of the human in that experience has failed self-checkout. And so where do we lean in too heavily? You're right, Nolan, of like, we've built all this cool technology, we've built an app, we've done all of this. I walk into the store and I can't find a human, and I have questions, and the technology might not work, or that particular human hasn't gone through a level of training, isn't committed, isn't proud of their work, then the whole thing just falls apart. The customer's frustrated. Well, why did I come here? I'm just going to buy it on a website, hope for that it's delivered in a timely manner. So there's so many ways as an industry that we could streamline this, make it more effective, make it more cost efficient, and and in some ways we simplify it versus overcomplicating it, adding great, easy to use technology and well-trained people.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, I mean, that experience of the people that you're interacting with, right, is so critical. And if they're not content and happy and satisfied in their environment, they're going to churn, and then you lose the knowledge and you lose the experience. And so take all the technology out of it, make the experience for the employee great, retain the employee, then you have the people with the knowledge and the experience to handle the customer better. And ideally that makes everybody, puts everybody in a better situation.
All of it. And statistically, people often leave retail because they don't understand the clear career path to next. It's generally not financial. Financial falls lower on the list. I want continued learning and development, and I want a clear understanding of my career path here. Because same, of like, they fall in love with it, like, this is really fun, I really am enjoying this, but I want to understand, can this actually be a career? And the number one reason people leave is because they don't have anyone coaching them of like, how do I become a manager? How do I become a multi-store manager? And where does that fall into place? And so then the turnover happens, notoriously high in our industry, costs somewhere between $7,000 to $10,000 on average to replace an employee, from the hours of like recruiting. Even if the hiring process is AI initiated, it costs money and payroll dollars to hire, to train, to put someone on the floor. They get good at their job within the first, hopefully, 2 weeks to 30 days at the basic level. You've spent $10,000. So why not put the effort on the front end? Why not invest in those career conversations? Retention and future, the future kind of blueprint of success is actually in improving retention. It's not sustainable at the way that it's been done.
It's super interesting. I used to tell people, Ron, because there's lots of money to be made in retail, but I used to tell them, I can't make you bank rich, but I can make you resume rich, right? You get so much exposure working in retail to so many things so rapidly. So it really is, a great point in terms of that piece. Let's maybe close this out. We'd try to keep these tight because we want people to keep watching them. Maybe I'll leave this as an open question because it ties into Jeff and I's next video, which is Jeff and I are going to talk about different technologies to try to get that information from the store up to head office, whether that's, using the existing CCTV, or maybe it's like Badger Technologies with robots going to the stores. Maybe it's like listening to phone traffic or radio traffic and running a Copilot. You said something that was so important, which was get into stores and understand what's going on. And we'll try to talk about technology next time, Jeff, but maybe we'll leave that as the open comment to both you and Jeff in terms of understanding what the store is, how it's operating, and what we need to look at to drive these decisions.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff, if you want.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, we'll kind of get into the tech next week, but the nice thing now is like the technology exists to do a lot of that work without having to have as massive a labor presence or as many store visits. Those are super important. You have to have that kind of that touch with your employees and your leaders, of course. But there's so much data you can collect, whether it's through video analytics, whether it's through voice analytics and capturing the conversations to see not just things like traffic flow, but who's interacting with whom and what the conversations are. And you marry that with the transaction data. There's so much information and knowledge to see how things are working that can be used to optimize the operational side of the business, or the training, or even certainly the merchandising, things like that. But so like the tools, technologies are there. Takes time, and not the capital required to do a lot of that work is tricky, and margins are tough, and tariffs are a thing, and there's all sorts of other implications. But the long-term potential is incredible with some of these tools.
I would absolutely agree. I would add on that, I love kind of the voice listening. I'm definitely exploring that with a few different people right now that are thinking about how to provide coaching. So they're listening to your sales. They're providing recaps of like training opportunities based on what it's hearing you do. But I would also say it's actually been faster and easier, and in some ways less expensive now, to capture how someone feels. You can do it via quick text message when you clocked in for your shift. How are you feeling today? How's the relationship with your supervisor? And so you can collect at scale a lot of data about how people are feeling at work. And again, just being asked isn't enough. If you consistently get a lot of data that says, wow, people in the field are really feeling a certain way about these topics or on certain days, or talk about staffing, then your responsibility as a leader is to address it and to talk about how you can solve for this. But I agree, like, we've got the tools. What you do with them as a leader is up to you. But it's never been easier to actually collect information.
So good, you guys. We could talk for a long time on this. I want to thank you, Ron, for coming on. I'm pretty sure Jeff,
Pleasure.
actually, both of us got our Retail Pride books signed at NRF last year or the year before.
Yes.
So now we're going to have to hunt you down, because
Yeah.
now we're going to get our Human Pride book
Right.
signed as well. I want to continue the series. So thanks so much for coming on, man. This is really, really special.
Pleasure. Really a pleasure. Thank you both.
Thank you, Ron. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeff, see you next Monday.
Absolutely. Sounds great.